Tiruppur in Tamil Nadu is India's textile hub. It's also called India's dollar city, and for good reason. Last year it exported textiles worth over $4 billion or over 34,350 crore. But Tiruppur has also built its fortunes on labor arbitrage. Migrants make up about 50% of some 6 lakh textile workers here. The migrants largely come from UP, Bihar, Jharkhand and Odisha. Now, reports suggest that about 60,000 of these workers have already left Tamil Nadu, heading back to the northern and eastern states. What does this labor exodus mean for this growth engine of the south? Joining me to discuss this today are Kumar Duraiswamy, Joint Secretary of the Tiruppur Exporters Association, Mr. Banuchandar Nagarajan, Economist, and my colleague Kartik Malhotra. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus Show. Mr. Duraiswamy, why are workers leaving Tiruppur?
Actually, we've been started questioned by a lot of media and friends from different parts of the country, like seeing the news that cropped up a couple of days back.
Yes.
And it was a true surprise to us, but because there is no such things happening over here.
Right.
To be very honest, laborers going to their native and coming back, it is a routine here.
Right.
But I can say the last 2 years after the pandemic, post-pandemic, we faced a lot of challenge in the business. Overall global scenario, the exports are down, not only in Tiruppur, not only in India. Overall, the exporting countries faced a lot of challenges.
Yes.
And there were less working hours, and orders are very less, more than what we are normally doing.
Right.
So why the workers from northern states are coming to Tiruppur or to any parts of India? It's to earn more money.
Right.
So if there is continuous work for them, then there is no use for them to stay here and spend some money on boarding and food, and they cannot also support their family at their own states.
Right.
So there is a part of labor started moving from this place or from any manufacturing places across India to their natives. And once the situation started resuming back, orders started coming, at least if 600, 700 workers coming from north every day, at least 200 to 300 people will be moving to north, maybe for some functions, some marriages, some kind of
So there's a constant churn. But you're saying that because of recent problems with a slump in the global manufacturing, global exports, you think that laborers are going back mainly because of that and not because of better opportunities back home?
No, it's definitely not, because they want to also take a break, and there is no use of sitting here and left with minimum work or low work. So they want to spend some time with the family, and going back to the family and staying with the family, they can spend less there. So instead of if there is an earning, definitely they will not go back. So now the last 2 months post holidays, like the New Year sales and all the holiday sales were too good. Buyers started placing orders with us. So all the manufacturing units started resuming the work. So there is a dire need of laborers, and a lot of laborers are turning back.
Kartik, what about this churn that Mr. Duraiswamy is mentioning? This fluctuation you said in the workers and all that. It's obviously not mainly because of the economies in the north doing better, but for various other reasons that he outlined.
So I think, there's a clash of data here, Sandeep. So reports are suggesting that there is actually a reverse migration of labor. Labor which had found employment in southern states, specifically in Tiruppur, is now finding similar employment closer home. So if you look at the overall India textile story, India ranks number 4 globally in textile exporting countries. No surprise, number 1 being China, number 2 being Bangladesh. Maybe, that balance would have tilted now a little bit. But India being number 4 when it comes to textile and apparel exports. Now, the fact of the matter being that if migrants are moving from one part of the country to another, it is obviously a demand-supply issue. There is greater demand not according to what Mr. Duraiswamy is saying, but overall from what we understand from other reports is that there is greater demand for labor in the state of Uttar Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh also already has export clusters specific to textile. Noida, where we are sitting, being one of them. There is one being built in Gorakhpur. There is another one coming up in Bundelkhand. So overall, there is also government's push by way of PLI into the textile sector. So out of the 1.97 lakh crore rupees of outlay for PLI, given for the 14 sectors, textiles is one of them. Now, to my mind, Sandeep, this is India's opportunity to really double down on textile exports. Because we know there is a crisis looming in Bangladesh. We don't know when that crisis is going to ebb out.
And the Chinese growth story is,
of course, the Chinese growth story is slowing down. But overall, there is also tepid demand. So if you look at the festive season, the festive sales in the US, where exports eventually land up, it's either Europe or US, you didn't see the kind of festive frenzy that you're used to seeing. But this, in any case, is the general macroeconomic story in the US. But the point is, textiles being essential, textiles being necessities, there is going to be a larger global demand which is going to open up at some point. India needs to be ready for that.
Absolutely.
Now, whether it is Tamil Nadu, whether it is UP, whether it is Tamil Nadu and UP, I think the larger question is both states which also compete actually on their own contribution to GDP. So UP being number 2, Tamil Nadu being number 3, you know, they're also competing with each other, and net exports being the denominator there. I think there needs to be
interesting point there, Kartik. In fact, I want to bring Mr. Nagarajan in on this. You know, this point that Kartik raised, this competitive federalism between UP and Tamil Nadu. Now, UP is already number 2. It's the second largest state economy, 22.58 lakh crore last year. And it's what, 9% contribution?
9.2%. I think
9.2% to the national
Tamil Nadu is
income.
9.1%.
Yes. So
Maharashtra taking the lead at 15%
is number
plus,
one,
15.7.
way ahead of the rest. But you know, what is this kind of competitive federalism? How does it augur for industry like textiles, for instance? You know, where Tiruppur is so heavily dependent on labor from the north, and you have this large workforce that's now, you know, would prefer to nearshore.
Finding other avenues for the same skill that they have.
What does that mean for India as a competitive destination?
See, there are a couple of aspects to it. Like, one is the social aspect, one is the economic aspect, and I would actually dwell on how one interacts with the other. First, let me deal with the economic aspect. Like the previous speaker was saying, the competition for Tamil Nadu is not just within India, but you know, it's international in nature, and especially with textiles, like what the previous speaker was saying. Bangladesh is going through issues, and there's a huge opportunity for us to capitalize on that. And in international economy, there are ascending countries and descending countries, which means that though there are certain countries, like say, for example, the US, that might have been great before, it's sort of coming down, and countries like India are going up. A similar analogy can be applied to states within India as well. See, states like Uttar Pradesh are considered as ascending countries, where like there are new investments coming in, there's a new political setup that is cleaning up things, and the PLI schemes are actually being targeted at many industries there. So there's a great amount of economic opportunity there, and there's a great amount of ascendance that is happening. Okay, so this is a whole economic context. Now let's come to the social point. In Tamil Nadu, it's very obvious that, you know, there has been mistreatment of migrants. There has been a narrative peddled not just by the DMK people, but also even ministers and MPs, even in parliament, saying derogatory things about North Indians. So people from UP and Bihar are there in textile manufacturing regions for the sake of livelihood. When they now get new opportunities, for example, see, the note mentioned that tourism was one of the biggest drivers, right? So tourism is a great employment multiplier. For every dollar put in tourism, it produces $8 of output. So there are first order and second order effects. So it's creating more jobs, and I'm not surprised that people are moving back. It is sort of ironical that Tamil Nadu positions itself as a manufacturing hub. Now the Chief Minister Stalin is in Spain with asking for investments. There was an investor meet recently that actually positioned Tamil Nadu as a manufacturing hub, and all of this manufacturing is based on labor. I do not know what Tamil Nadu is going to do if all the labor goes out. So I think the focus of Tamil Nadu government, especially Mr. Stalin, is to make sure that migrants are treated well. They're not subjected to racism. And Mr. Raghuram Rajan, who is the advisor to government of Tamil Nadu, speaks very eloquently on how social tensions will cause economic issues, but he's not advising government of Tamil Nadu properly. I think he should advise that that this side of racist behavior towards migrants is going to hurt the economy of Tamil Nadu.
Right. You agree that there is some kind of racism towards workers there? I mean, there has been a kind of narrative, there has been some political color given to this, but given the fact that how labor intensive your industries are in Tamil Nadu, what do you need to do to kind of make sure that you continue to attract workers from the north?
Absolutely, I disagree with the gentleman who spoke previously. There are no such tensions. Yes, of course, there are political colors given by for the political gains by the political party, but the ground reality is totally different. All the North Indians feel very safe, and they feel they are treated equally than their own states here. There is an equality here, and we always have a dialogue with the migrant laborers, especially with the people from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha and all. They used to say that they feel very secure and safe, and they say that they are treated as brothers and sisters. And during the COVID pandemic period, Tamil Nadu is the first state to treat the migrant laborers properly, and we have taken care of them as our own family. And even if you talk about Tiruppur, we have done a lot of things for the migrant laborers, and migrant laborers are very happy, and they are the first to go home, and they are the first to return back to the work. So these news peddled by the anti-social elements and the media, I think last year news was peddled with all the fake videos, which has been, we suppressed along with the police department, along with the district administration, along with the help of the state government. We suppressed the news within 24 or 48 hours, and we brought into the clear picture that this has been happened somewhere across some other states in India, and none of the workers in Tamil Nadu has been affected by the racism or what kind of narratives they said. One thing I should agree that Tamil Nadu is far ahead than any other states in India. We have we have crossed the benchmarks, and now we are competing not with the other states. We are not competing with the neighboring states or the northern states. We are competing with the countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, the manufacturing destination, even with China. So you can in this show I will tell you, like you can send a team of your crew and check the working conditions here and see how North Indians are treated, and you can have your own interview with them. To make it very short, our Tamil workers are exchanging idlis for chapatis. That is bye-bye mentality is happening here.
Okay, that's good to know. Tamil workers are exchanging idlis for chapatis. But Kartik, going beyond idlis and chapatis, what more does the government have to do, given the fact that you live in such a competitive environment where states are now competing for workforce? What would the government of Tamil Nadu need to do now to make it more attractive to
Sandeep,
migrant labor?
I think economics works in a certain fashion, right? And there are certain critical requirements that you have for any output to be produced. You need land.
And labor capital.
You need labor and you need access to raw material.
Yes.
All of that is available. Right. But I think what is seldom not spoken about is the fact that you need ease of capital. Yes. Capital infusion is something which is required. Now, for the longest time that I have been covering the MSME sector, Tiruppur has been an MSME cluster for textiles, for hosiery specifically, right? Why hasn't it gone beyond an MSME cluster?
Right.
Why aren't we seeing bigger corporate houses make those investments? Right.
Absolutely.
So you need those capital investments to come in.
Right.
You need the MSMEs also to scale up. How do you scale up? Because if it is just labor arbitrage, you're always dependent on cheap labor, which is going to produce a certain quality which the hands of the labor will permit him or her to produce.
Right.
So there needs to be more capital infusion so that you can also upgrade yourself technologically.
Right.
Better machines, better fabrics, better
automation,
automation on the shop floor. So overall, I think this battle will have to be fought, whether it is Tamil Nadu or UP or Tamil Nadu and UP, like I said earlier. If India needs to take a lead in any sector, and since we are discussing textiles and specifically the textile sector, you don't need to compete only on cost. You need to compete on quality. You need to be a house for large brands to come manufacture in India. Bangladesh has brands like H&M and Zara producing and Gap and you know all the global brands which are aspirational not just for Indians and the lower income countries but even for the developed countries. We don't see too many of such brands making headlines by way of their manufacturing investments here in India.
That's a very good point, Kartik. And Mr. Nagarajan, why have the big brands not really opened up, set up shop in Tiruppur, given the fact that they're so competitive, and of course, Kartik, let's not forget the coast.
Absolutely.
It's bang on the coast.
And so your logistics is also
taken care of, right? And that's an advantage that UP doesn't have.
That UP does not have.
So why is it that the big brands, the big labels haven't set up shop in Tamil Nadu?
See, I think Tiruppur has one of the biggest textile hubs, and I'm sure so many multinationals source from Tiruppur. I mean, Mr. Duraiswamy would actually give out a few names, possibly. Recently, a leather park was set up in Perambalur, not far away, and that has almost all the big names sourcing from that. So I think the MNC presence is there in Tamil Nadu. The thing is, see,
no, I think I'm talking specifically contract manufacturing. The contract manufacturing, specifically brands giving their own designs, their own labels being made from scratch, outsourcing it here. Contract manufacturing is not happening. Sourcing may be happening.
Maybe, yes. Okay. So there's the next level of moving into the value chain. Let's see how that pans out. But the thing is, apart from Tiruppur, north of that is Hosur. Okay, Hosur has been the hub of electronic manufacturing. There's been Titan, there is Ola, there are all sorts of people there. So see, the thing is, it is a manufacturing hub. Whether it is done through contract manufacturing or through outsourcing is a different point, but it is happening. Maybe there needs to be a move up the value chain. But see, coming back to this, what has happened because of the whole issue is that the brand of Tamil Nadu is getting affected. See, I just mentioned 3-4 clusters already. If you add the big Chennai cluster, the outskirts of Sri Perambur and all, it's a huge manufacturing center. And given the proximity to coast, Tamil Nadu is well placed to take care of the manufacturing boom that is happening in India. But Tamil Nadu really has to fix its brand. And I listened to the comments of the person from Tiruppur. See, he's being very polite because he doesn't want to cause panic and he has to do business with the political system there. But it is, I'm sure there are backdoor channels that are open where these conversations, the difficult conversations are happening. One big point is that, see, even now, the per capita income of Uttar Pradesh is 65,000, Bihar is less than 50,000, and Tamil Nadu is around 3 lakhs. There's a huge disparity. They are going to see a migration of labor. It's not that all will be satisfied only in UP and Bihar. But the thing is, Tamil Nadu has to go the 180-degree and start being an attractive place for migrants. Otherwise, there will be wage inflation. Okay, if migrants stop coming to Tamil Nadu, there will be a huge wage inflation, and that is not going to be very helpful. And last point is, see, the human nature is that we always see differences, but I think these capitalism might actually sort of be the soothing of those passions in this case, where market factors will actually play a role in sort of alleviating these divisions between North Indians and South Indians.
Right, capitalism would be the elevating balm, Kartik, as it always is in democracies, in free markets, as it is in the case with India. But thank you very much, Mr. Nagarajan, Mr. Duraiswamy, and my colleague Kartik Malhotra for joining us this afternoon to talk about the North versus South, the labor exodus, which no one's been paying a lot of attention to in this whole fracas over North and South politics. While on the economy, my colleague Ashish Sharma caught up with former Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull at the Jaipur Literature Festival. Prime Minister Turnbull visited India as Prime Minister in 2017, and he's bullish on India. Let's listen into what he has to say.
Yeah, look, I think it's important. I mean, defending democracy is very important. Now, the Americans have demonstrated that nation building doesn't work, and going in and trying to tell people how to run their own countries doesn't work, as they saw, particularly in the Middle East or in Afghanistan. But ultimately, you can't live in a world, or we don't want to live in a world where might is right. Now, obviously, as you know, there's that saying, God is with the big battalions. There's some truth in that, but the rule of law is critically important internationally, particularly for smaller countries like Australia. That's why we support, we're in the Quad, that's why we support all the regional groups. It's, this was Shinzo Abe's vision of the free and open Indo-Pacific, and, basically ensuring that countries were going to be free to run their own affairs, essentially, chart their own destiny without being bullied by big powers. I mean, the China-Russia relationship is a very interesting one because, Russia is now, every year it becomes more and more the junior partner. And because it used to be the other way around. And they are so dependent on China now and so vulnerable to China. I mean, Siberia is scarcely populated, and Colin Tubron, the travel writer, was here talking about the Amur River, and I mean, I used to spend a lot of time in Siberia in the early 1990s, and they're very vulnerable to China. I think I'm honestly not sure what Putin is trying to achieve in Ukraine. I mean, because if he's seriously trying to recreate the old Soviet empire, it's utterly doomed. I mean, utterly doomed. I mean, the cost, the folly. So you've got to say, if you look at Xi Jinping's situation, if you say that his allies are Russia, engaged in this catastrophic war in Ukraine, North Korea, who are, essentially a rogue state, a criminal state, ruled by hereditary tyrants, and Iran, a theocratic tyranny. I mean, it's not. I mean, they're not. I'm sure they're not the allies you'd really want to choose. So I think, in a sense, all of these Russia, Iran, and North Korea have made themselves pariahs because of their own action, and they have therefore gravitated to China. But I mean, China's a much more responsible. I'll put it this way: China is associating with countries that are not in its league. Put it that way. No, the trade is not enough. And look, it's. I mean, the reality. I mean, there's reasons for that, but when you look at India's share of global GDP, it is much larger than India's share of global trade. India does not have a big role in global trade because it has not been an exporter of manufactured goods in the way that China has been, and of course it has always been very protectionist. It's not, it's not been easy for foreign capital to invest in India, and one of the, I make this point in my memoir that when I first met Mr. Modi, he said, you've done a lot of business internationally. I see you've done a lot of business in China. Why none in India? And I said, well, truthfully, at the time when I was doing business, which was really in the 80s and 90s, and in particular, India was too hard to do business in. Well, I think it's, I think the critical thing is to improve, if I could say, I think the challenge for India is you don't want to be in a situation where you have strong economic growth, but you don't have much in the way of jobs growth. So you need, the services, China took a different approach, but I think services are a critically important sector, not least because they employ a lot of people. And I think one of the biggest objectives has got to be to increase household income, because the more households' income they have, the more they can spend on services and so forth. Yeah, I'd like to see that, and I think there's enormous potential there. There's a very large Indian community in Australia. There would be, India is the largest source of migrants to Australia. We're a very proudly multicultural society. There would be, we're a country of 25, 26 million people. There would be at least, I would say about 1.5 million people of Indian heritage, and that's growing all the time. And of course, those diaspora communities have, fantastic links to their home countries. They've got, relatives and connections and so forth. So I think the Australia-India connection's only going to get stronger. But India's protectionist sentiments are obviously a barrier to trade. But that's quite deliberate. That's a choice that India's made. Well, Modi is admired and respected all around the world. He is admired particularly by politicians because they'd love to be as popular in their country as he is in India. He's a very charismatic leader, and very respected leader. So, there's no question about that. I think in agriculture, I think we can do more cooperation there. I'd like to see more in clean energy, renewables, solar. There are, Australian scientists and engineers that I know are working with Indian companies, including Adani, to develop, a big solar panel, factories in India. So, I think there's plenty of potential, but I don't see Australia, it's unlikely that India is going to develop a steel making industry that of the scale China has that will result in huge exports of iron ore to India.
12 crore voters go to the polls on the 8th of February to elect Pakistan's next government. Now, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is looking to return for what could be a record 4th term. What happens after the elections? Joining me to discuss this are Ambassador Yogesh Gupta, Professor Sanjay Kumar Bharadwaj, and my colleague Ghulam Jilani. Ambassador Gupta, what do you make of the Pakistan elections? What are you hearing? Is there a lot of optimism about the way things are going to pan out there, given the fact that the military seems to have already made up its mind who it wants as Prime Minister?
Well, what one is hearing is that the elections are sort of taking place along the expected lines, which means that the Pakistan military has been favoring Mr. Nawaz Sharif's party, and they've been trying to suppress the party of Mr. Imran Khan. And the supporters of Mr. Imran Khan, they have been put under various sorts of restrictions. They are being discouraged their leaders have been compelled to dissociate themselves from the party, compelled to leave the party, and then restrictions are being put, obstacles are being created in their way to participate in the voting. The bat symbol, the cricket bat symbol, which Imran Khan wanted, that has been denied to him.
Right.
So, Imran Khan's party is at a very severe disadvantage and obviously will be very handicapped.
Right, absolutely. And Ghulam, we're going to talk about this Bilawal Bhutto, but in a moment, Professor Bharadwaj, in 2018 there was so much of optimism. One gets while looking at the election scene in Pakistan. There was Imran Khan coming back. There was an anti-corruption plank. There was a lot of enthusiasm. But this time, strangely, the elections seem to be very muted. There's no buzz around it. People don't seem to have that kind of energy around these elections. What do you make of this? Is it because of the economic downturn, or are there other reasons behind this?
I think this is one point is very clear, that the election is foregone conclusion.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, it is just repetition of what happened in 2018, the way Nawaz Sharif was out and the way Imran Khan was brought in.
Right.
This time, after the election, I think, there are three stakeholders. One is PPP, another is PML, and the third is Tehreek-e-Taliban.
Right.
The army is playing very smartly. Munir is very smart person in a way. He wants to keep the key in his hand.
Right.
And there, I think so that the PML will be the largest party, and there will be, in fact, it would be hung parliament in a way.
With the
that
PPP.
PML will be the largest party, and then PPP, because the way the most campaigner who is doing campaign for last 2-3 weeks, I can say the Bilawal Bhutto, because Bilawal Bhutto did not have any space in 2018 election and 2013 election. So Bilawal Bhutto will be the second. And what would happen with the Tehreek-e-Insaf party?
Yes.
That because they do not have symbol, so their candidates will be contesting independently.
Right.
So once they will be independent, then army will and the Nawaz Sharif will manipulate them to bring with them.
Right.
So and once they will be there and support Nawaz Sharif will remain in power until after, because Nawaz Sharif is very tough fighter. He wants to have more power with the civilians. That was the main contention between the army and the Nawaz Sharif. So army and Nawaz Sharif, the tussle will go ahead, but how Nawaz Sharif will be powerful in civilians, that matters. But the most important point is that the army, army, they are still very strong stakeholders in saving the country from economic crisis and all that, because the way Shahbaz Sharif put it, army chief in the number of councils and meetings and all that. Yeah. It is because it is very challenging for Pakistan for security reasons, Tehreek-e-Taliban, Afghan Taliban. There are environmental issues. There are economic issues, particularly inflation and the devaluation of rupee. Rupee is very important.
Absolutely. Professor Bharadwaj, I'm going to bring in my colleague Ghulam in on this. The point that you made about Bilawal Bhutto being the second, largest party in Pakistan, given the fact that PTI is literally out of this match. But Ghulam, what's the long-term view on Bilawal? Given the fact that, I'm looking at him, he's 37 years old. He's half the age of both Nawaz Sharif and Imran Khan.
Yeah, Sandeep, I agree with you. While we know the result, the match is fixed, but the only thing that fascinates me about this election is Bilawal Zardari Bhutto.
Right.
He was just 19 when his mother was assassinated.
Yes.
He was, he has spent most of his time outside of Pakistan.
Right.
But then he came just after 3 days of his mother's assassination. He was elevated as the chairman of Pakistan People's Party. 3 years later, he in initial years after 2010 till 2010 he remained outside Pakistan. He preferred to complete his history degree from Oxford. Then he came back in 2010, and his father, the former president, we know he comes from the Zardari Bhutto family, which is very illustrious in Pakistan. And his father decided to do some renaming. He, changed his second name to Bilawal Zardari Bhutto. He wanted the Bhutto surname with him, because that will bring in, her mother's
bigger brand
charisma
recall
that her mother carried. And his first election was 2018, which he won. He was in the National Assembly, and he has been campaigning, as our guest rightly said. He has been campaigning. He is the most visible campaigner in these elections. But as we know, he was the foreign minister in the outgoing government. He has said recently that he won't continue to be the foreign minister if Nawaz Sharif wins the election. But again, he has been campaigning well. He is young. He is drawing crowds, and he is also one of the what we say, that he would preferably carry the legacy forward of.
They carry the Bhutto legacy forward.
Bhutto
Ambassador Gupta, this Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, former foreign minister of Pakistan, is following in his grandfather's footsteps as taking the foreign ministry first before aspiring for higher office. What is the future of him? I mean, do you see him as a possible prime minister candidate sometime in the future, given the fact that he's only 37 years old?
Well, it is quite a possibility because he's so young, and considering Pakistan's past record, we see that the military gets disenchanted after a couple of years with each of the party.
Right.
So I guess once they get disenchanted now with Nawaz Sharif, next time they try on Bilawal Bhutto. Why not?
Right, right. So it's just like a Swayamvar,
Yeah.
It's
remember in
elections in
2018,
Pakistan. Yes.
You remember 2018, military, Imran Khan benefited from our.
Yes, of course.
Look at now what has happened to PTI. They are not even contesting with their election
symbol.
symbol.
As Professor Bharadwaj said, they literally
they don't have that bad symbol. They
don't
Imran
have
Khan
the symbol,
is in the jail.
so they can pick all these candidates and bring them and form a
One interesting thing about Bilawal is also, if you listen to his speeches, he can't speak proper Urdu like his mother.
Right.
His Urdu is more anglicized. But
yet,
we need to see, can he, pass that barrier and become more popular as he...
Can he pass that barrier? Interesting. He'll be the politician to watch out from the future. Professor Bharadwaj?
I just want to add one very important point. You are putting Bilawal Bhutto is young, 37 years old, but don't forget Mariam Sharif. She is also becoming a star campaigner, and she will have a tough fight. This time in Pakistan, around 57 million people are young
voters. Absolutely. We were coming to that.
Yes, that's very interesting point, and that's why Bilawal Bhutto is could be one attraction, but the Mariam Sharif from PML would be another attraction.
Right.
And the interest would be there. If what happened after coming Nawaz Sharif into the picture, Imran Khan's popularity has not declined. He maintained it, but he doesn't have any space to contest the election. He lost the election symbol and all that. So election has gone to Mariam Sharif as well as Bilawal Bhutto. But how this would go, army will play very critical, very important role. They can also manipulate.
Right,
they can
absolutely.
Also
let's not forget this dynasty in India, but there's also political dynasties in Pakistan, and very interesting.
Except Imran, both the parties are dynasties.
Except Imran, exactly. Imran is the outlier. We spoke about that a few days back, and whereas it's almost like a replay of the. It could be a replay in the future. The Nawaz Sharif and Benazir Bhutto contest will be played out in the next generation as well. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for your insights into Pakistan's fixed match. And Pakistan, as we said, goes into the elections on the 8th of February, and we kind of know what the results are. But it's always interesting to know the kind of, off-the-field play that's going on with the military and the future of Pakistan. The elections is something that we'll be looking at again very, very closely, because what happens in Pakistan has implications for India, and especially with the peace process and Jammu and Kashmir. Thanks for watching.
News9 Plus. Download now.